The wind blows across a golden setting as military boots become present. The elite special force unit captain Lee Yoon-Ah, an army mommy. An underling asks her to be more gentle as she freaks out all the other soldiers. She brushes her face and mentions how she hasn't shown them half of her horrifying side yet. The underling then mentions this is why all the soldiers call her the devil. Lee Yoon-Ah is a soldier at heart with outstanding performances and excellent grades in the military academy. She was also the first student to earn the title of captain. The underling then mentions, however, that if she keeps up this attitude, she will never find someone who is genuinely true. Yoon-Ah tells him she has no interest in love or marriage, to which the underling asks if she plans to be a soldier for the rest of her life. She responds by saying, of course, as a man comes running in from behind yelling, "Captain, the messengers state that a village thought to be the enemy's residence has been destroyed," to which Yoon-Ah mentions it must be the U.S. looking to spread freedom again. A bomb then goes off as Yoon-Ah covers up, and her men shout in pain. She yells at her soldiers to guard their positions and that they are under attack. She says a non-monetizable word as someone yells for the captain to watch out. A big all nuke then seems to rain down, causing a massive boom. Yoon-Ah seems to levitate and watches the flash as it gets even brighter. And then even closer, silence is then heard as the lights go out. I wonder if this is what Oppenheimer's movie will feel like. She wonders if she's still alive as a fancy room can be seen. She sits up as she notes she does not feel any pain in her body. The extravagance of the room seems to shock her as she sits silently in bed. She wonders what is with the fancy princess-like dress she is wearing as the door opens to her shock. She runs to the maid, who says "excuse me" before her hand is grabbed. She puts the maid under arrest as the maid shouts "my lady." Yoon-Ah asks the maid who she is and where they are before warning that she has 3 seconds to answer this. Yoon-Ah notes her body feels weak whenever she moves before the maid asks her what she is doing. The maid then calls her Lady Rosalie, and we then get to see what she looks like now. Narrator interjection, but how is this fair? She looked good in her former life and even in her new life. I only had one life, and I was born looking ugly as hell. Yoon-Ah, who is now Rosalie, internally says wait a minute. She notes that this voice is not hers as the maid pleads with Lady Rosalie to release her as her arm is about to break. Rosalie does so as she stares at her arms and notes they are not here. The many scars she had accumulated from training, as well as the tanness and firmness of her skin. She then yells for a mirror, to which the maid tells her it is over there. She then asked the maid for her name again, to which the maid asked if something was wrong before referring to our female lead as Lady Rosalie Judah Hart. Rosalie pinches herself to see if this is all real before thinking about her new name. She recalls this being the name of a character in a book her friend had written. She recalls her homie asking what she thought about it, to which our female lead called the character Rosalie pathetic. She also said that romance novels were not her type. She mentioned that they were sometimes very frustrating to read and required mental training. But this character, Rosalie in particular, is the most pathetic she has ever seen. Her friend tells her that is not the point and that the main plot revolves around the male lead helping the sweet female lead, which Yoon-Ah calls hard to read. Yoon-Ah mentions that the female lead is sweet, but her character is too much, while also saying the male lead was kind of crazy. And not her type at all. Now, in the present times, her reflection can be seen in a mirror. She stares in silence before dropping the F-bomb. 4 days would pass, and we see her now sipping tea, having accepted what had happened to her. Despite this, she still cannot handle what is going on. She is currently in her friend's novel as the character called Rosalie, who will soon lose her powers. 5 years ago, Rosalie had lost her father and was forced to live with her stepmom Bella. Rosalie was the heir to the duchy due to her royal blood but was soon found to be too timid and incapable of taking the throne. This caused her stepmom to become the lead figure in the family and use Rosalie as a puppet. Her stepmother had an obsession with luxury, slowly depleting the family wealth before later on joining the Marquis of Wendell to initiate a territorial war. Having taken advantage of Rosalie, this stepmother would steal all the property and possessions while leaving without a trace. After winning the territorial war due to the help of other parties and becoming a noble herself, nobody ever knew about her shady past. Our female lead wonders what to do and whether she should change Rosalie's fate or allow the story to flow naturally. The truth is that this story does not have a set ending yet, and our female wonders if she should keep it that way. She, however, does not want this to happen and decides to think of everything going on first. She calls for Emma to bring her a pen as she then starts to write. She will not get any help from any existing characters yet, so she must prepare for the upcoming territorial battle in 4 months. She notes that this way she can save the duchy's economic power before deciding that she will also need to increase military power. Our female lead, who is now Rosalie, rings her bell as a maid comes in. She asks for the maid to prepare a dress as she will head out. The maid nervously questions if she is Rosalie, to which our female lead responds yes. Our female lead notes this girl is quite amazingly perceptive, as she is the one who stays by the real Rosalie's side till the end of the story. Rosalie then refers to the maid as Emma and mentions how since her father died, Rosalie herself has not shown any dignity. She tells the maid she has now changed, as she is the duchess of this land. The maid seems stunned as she holds her apron before telling Rosalie that she'll help her dress up. We later see our female lead in a wonderful dress as Emma asks Rosalie where she is going. Rosalie says title to Emma's confusion. She tells the maid she'd like to stop being referred to as lady. Emma apologizes for the rudeness as Rosalie says to be careful about calling her that from now on. Emma thinks to herself about how much Rosalie has changed as we then transition to the training ground. As Rosalie walks, Emma calls for the duchess. She then asks why they are at the training grounds, as we then see all the dudes there have finally noticed her. They all wonder what the princess is doing here, as Rosalie then says everyone is out of their minds. Someone asks if there is a problem, which causes Rosalie to turn and see Knight Commander Aaron. Rosalie says she is here to see Aaron, which clearly confuses the guy. Aaron notes it seems like Rosalie is no longer afraid of Bella to Wick. Rosalie asks. He asks Aaron if he'd be scared of a three-tongued snake in front of him. This again confuses Aaron before he starts to laugh. He then calls her Bella's pawn and asks if she is spying on this place, which leaves Rosalie speechless. He asks why she is not saying anything, as Rosalie notes Aaron is neither making eye contact with her or running away. Rosalie then says that his reaction is understandable considering her previous behavior, to which Aaron asks if something is wrong with her head. She then yells Commander Aaron's name before asking if his loyalty to the family is still in his heart. He yells, telling her she is asking an obvious question, as he has been serving this family for many generations, so of course it is. Rosalie tells him well done as she then turns to walk away, which again confuses him. And confused as well, not gonna lie. It is later seen that she watches over the training on the 1st, 3rd, and 6th day. This all builds up to Aren asking why on earth she is here. She tells him she is watching them train, to which Aren asks what she thinks about it. She calls it terrible, to which he calls what she said nonsense. She glares at him as he now stiffens up. He wonders what is up with this aura, since it feels like that of a well-trained knight. She tells him just by watching them, it appears that they are incapable of beating or killing anyone. She tells him she is sure they can do better, to which Aren clenches his fist and tells her she never even cared about the knight's true potential. She then crosses her arms and offers to give a hand. Aren asks if she can even do this and if Bella would allow it, to which Rosalie notes if they do this she is sure it will pay off. Rosalie then asks Emma if Bella fired the old butler, to which Emma says yes. Rosalie then mentions she will cut her off, which causes Emma to freak out as she wonders what Bella will do when she finds out. Rosalie reminds Emma that she is the Duchess and tells her to calm down. She then says she has a favor to ask Emma. 3 days later, Rosalie is telling someone to come into the room. It is the old butler that worked for the duchy named Dahl. He tells Rosalie it has been a while since they met, to which Rosalie says she is taking this as a sign he is willing to work here again. She notes to herself this man was living in the suburbs after being fired until she asked Emma to deliver a message. She notes that she doesn't even know what Emma said to him. Dallin tells her she has changed, to which Rosalie says it is time to change before directly asking if he is willing to work for her once more. He bows down saying yes, which causes our female lead to smile. Why is she so fine? It is noted in the novel the original Rosalie could not wear the family ring, but that today is different. Our female lead says she will change her fate as she places the ring on her finger, unlike Charles Barkley. Someone yells, saying she wants them to bring her Rosalie. A maid nervously tells her to visit Rosalie's room if she has something to say, to which Bella notes it seems like Rosalie is now pretending to be the Duchess now. She then smiles as she notes she needs to meet her eye to eye now. She then yells Rosalie's name as we later see Rosalie peacefully at her table. The rabid female dog stares at her before asking if she can hear her bark. Rosalie notes how nosy it is before noting her personality is exactly like in the book. Rosalie calls her a paranormal snake as Bella calls Rosalie rude and asks if Riley taught her that. Rosalie then recalls that is the name of her character's mother and recalls that her own mother taught her that she should rip off the necks of anyone who touches her. She then reflects on her former family, who were a complete military family from multiple generations. To them, discipline and values are the most important aspects of life. She notes that after joining the military she realized that despite language and culture being different there was no place for that in the military. essentially saying none of that matters in the military and that we are all human on equal footing. She then angrily slams the table as she notes due to being in the military, she has already had enough of this class-based society. Bella asks what Rosalie just said and tells her to stop pretending to be the duchess. She also mentions she will fire her butler again as Rosalie starts to walk over. Rosalie then asks Bella if she knows who she's talking to. Bella raises her hand as she asks how dare Rosalie talk so rudely, but it is grabbed mid-attack. Bella says to let go as Rosalie notes she cannot believe this woman is hard to deal with. She internally decides to start physical training tomorrow. Bella then pulls her hand away and pants before being stunned as Rosalie mentions that she is 7th Duchess of the Judah Hart family. She calls Bella the former Duchess and tells her to act respectfully. Rosalie then asks if Bella understands before yelling "answer me," which causes the dog to whimper yes. Rosalie then calls for Dolan and then tells him to take Bella back to her room. Dolan says yes to that, and he then tells Bella let's go. Feet can be seen moving as Aren then asks if Rosalie called for him. He is stunned as he sees Dolan, to which Dolan says it has been a while. Aren talks about the rumors being true and notes there was also one about Rosalie giving Bella a good show. Rosalie angrily tells them to get back to work as Aren then sits down saying understood. She tells him they are going to improve Knight's strength and that she is raising their salaries. He asks if she is sure about this before she tells him to train them based on this paper. He tells her he will train them with all his might and stops mid-sentence as he reads the paper. On the paper are things like 2,000 push-ups, sit-ups, and climbing mountains. Basically that Uncle Iroh prison training regime. Rosalie sips her tea as she recalls mentioning to him that she'd help bring the knights back to life. She tells him in a few weeks she will be the one to directly train them. Aren says he now understands why she raised the salary and also the training. He tells her it won't be easy for the knights to train like this and that public opinion of their knights are not good before Rosalie stops him mid-sentence and puts her teacup down. She reminds him that in the past, their duchy had the best knights before asking what he thinks about them now. She tells him they will start training in a week, to which Aren tells her all right and that he will update the training regimen. As he leaves, Emma says hi to him. Emma then tells Rosalie a letter has arrived for her. As Rosalie asks from whom, it says Sonia Ammons, who is actually a friend of Rosalie's and also the real female protagonist in this novel. Emma notes, it has been a while since they've seen each other and asks what she said. Rosalie says that they will be having a guest in 2 weeks. Rosalie notes that it was around this time in this novel that Sonia found out about Rosalie's mistreatment, and that the Crown Prince will get involved. Rosalie notes to herself she does not need the help anymore. Rosalie then asks Emma if there is any news on what they talked about earlier, to which Emma says Dolan will pick it up the day after tomorrow. Rosalie then smiles, and she notes that is good. In a week we see all the knights smiling as Aaron then asks Rosalie what kind of outfit she has on. She has on some combat gear. Some dorks remark that she is trying to match her outfit for the training in a mocking manner. She turns and glares, and they then note this will be a piece of cake. Rosalie is clearly angered as she then sighs and says they will start training. Aaron asks what they are waiting for and tells everyone to gather up. One guy says he does not want to do it. He mentions that they do not care if she is a duchess as they will not listen to her even if she is a self-proclaimed training master. This causes the other men to laugh. Rosalie asks who he is. Ron notes this is Toronto, the oldest and highest-ranking knight. Rosalie notes the word high rank before asking again if what Aaron says is true. She then asks for him to show her his sword. Aren tries to warn her about him being high rank as she then says she does not care, and flips her hat off. She then moves her knife back and gets into a stance. Toronto asks if she is sure about that posture as all the other knights laugh. She then draws his sword as he then tells her to make sure not to regret this. He swings and misses as she then steps forward moving towards his stomach. She then slashes right by his neck as he then trips over. She tells him his head would have come off if this was a real battlefield. Side note, but step on me too. He tells her he surrenders as she notes angrily how easily he surrendered. She asks how dare a knight like him surrender so easily and says that there is no surrender unless they die. She asks if all the other knights understand as they nervously say yes. She tells them to answer her properly as they more vigorously say yes. Someone then calls for Rosalie, which turns out to be Sonia Ammons. Rosalie notes that she came on the exact same day as training before noting the person next to her. Sonia later asks what happened and says that she is surprised. Rosalie says it was no big deal before staring ahead. She notes Sonia is exactly like she had envisioned, while Derivis looks a lot colder than she had imagined. Sonia sips her tea in silence and the awkward silence descends on the three. Sonia then asks if they should have a tea party tomorrow, to which Rosalie agrees and says she will get it ready. Sonia then asks if she wants to go have a look around at the blooming flowers in the garden. Rosalie says she still has something to do and asks Dolan to show Sonia around. Dolan then ushers Sonia out as Rosalie now looks ahead. Derivis stares at her as well as she notes they might have a snowball fight soon, basically saying the two will be cold towards one another. Derivis notes that she is no longer avoiding his eyes anymore as Rosalie mentions she has done nothing wrong to him. Derivis then mentions that she may have done something wrong to someone else though. It is noted that Derivis Velotic is the crown prince of the empire, who is a talented or a swordmaster, making him and Rosalie completely different. It is noted that without Sonia the two of them would never have had this conversation here. Rosalie notes that after solving this territorial war and securing the titanium mine, the crown prince won't be involved in this situation anymore. Rosalie then tells the prince she will go back to training now as she then gets up from her seat. She starts to walk, but he does so as well. She tells him he must be lost as the garden is on the other side, to which he tells her he is following her to the training ground. She wonders why he would be interested in her training. In the original novel, Aaron would become so disappointed in Rosalie that he would leave to join Derivis instead. She notes that today she cannot lose Aaron before telling Derivis not to come as the knights might lose focus with him around. They both stare coldly at one another before he mentions that he'll have a look at the training grounds later. He then walks up to her, saying he doesn't follow anyone's wishes. This infuriates her as she notes this man is just as crazy as in the novel. He walks away and notes this will be fun. Later we see Rosalie acting like my middle school PE teacher and yelling at the knights for one more push-up. The knights shout 43 and 44 as Rosalie then mentions that they are slowing down. She tells them to start all over again before they now refer to her as a devil. They are later seen running laps and Rosalie notes to herself she is still far from achieving her goals. She then notes that at least beating Toronto did help with things. She notes that she actually would have lost that fight had he not looked down on her. She also then wonders why Derivis is so interested in her as she recalls him never being interested in Rosalie in the novel. She herself wonders if it is due to her having changed. Later, we see running as someone then asks if Rosalie is preparing for training again this morning. She asks what he is doing here as he mentions he is here to train as well and that he did not expect the Duchess to be here as well. She asks if that is so and says she hopes the best for him as she does not care if he trains or not. He then sighs as she continues to stretch. She then glances over as he then sits to meditate his aura. She stares in confusion as he continues to meditate. Not gonna lie, this black outfit is hitting different right now. She notes this what they call aura training, and that in the novel this is the power used by sword masters. She notes that seeing it in person is actually pretty cool. She then calls for His Highness as he says yes. She asks for him to show her what he can do as he asks if she is curious. He tells her that the aura corresponds to the person's eye color, and she then asks if she can touch it. He notes that he does not think she will feel anything if she touches it as she leans over. She puts her finger on it as she notes she thought it would feel hot, but it actually feels like nothing at all. She stares in amazement as Derivis watches over her. He notes he has never seen her look like this before, and then the two lock eyes. He tells her that she does not usually show her face and that this is the first time he's looked at her properly. She asks him is that so as she turns to the side. She tells him that's cool as she continues to look away. He notes that he heard she gets referred to as the Devil Duchess, and she asks how he knows. He tells her she knows what happened. He tells her that the knights seem to be making a lot of rude jokes, so she seemed to have doubled their training intensity. She angrily tells him it does not matter, to which he tells her that sometimes showing her devilish side does help. He also mentions that sometimes it is the devil that beats humans rather than the angels anyways. He then mentions that her eyes are too beautiful to be called a devil and that real devils can't have eyes like that. He then asks if she wants him to come to training or if seeing that was already enough. She tells him one time is more than enough as he then tells her all right, and that she can continue her workout now. She continues to stretch in silence as she then starts to think about how Derivis obviously never looked at Rosalie in this manner during the novel, and wonders why he is suddenly interested in her before noting she needs to be wary. Later, we see Sonia run and shouting Rosalie's name along with Derivis. Rosalie then says to come here as the tea party is about to start. Sonia asks if Rosalie will actually be here at this tea party, to which Rosalie says he actually will stay this time. It is noted that in the novel Bella and Marquis of Wendell are very close, and will secretly contact one another to start a territorial war. She then internally says let's see if this works out as it was originally written. Sonya then says she has not seen Bella and that the last time she saw her was when she was packing her things. Rosalie says that Bella left to go to the villa for a while, as we then see some red heels. A stench can be seen in the air as Rosalie notes they were just speaking of the devil. Bella says it is a pleasure to meet the crown prince of the empire as she then looks up. The three then stare at her as Bella mentions Rosalie never said the prince was coming. She asks if Rosalie was determined to embarrass her or something, to which Sonya says that's not it. Rosalie then asks why she would be concerned about that. Bella asks what she is talking about as she mentions she is the Grand Duchess of the Judah Hart family. Rosalie stands up saying she is the Duchess of the Judah Hart family as Bella asks what about it. Rosalie says this means that Bella has to follow her orders. She then tells Dolan to take Bella to her room as if she were a toddler. Dolan tells the lady to go, which angers her. She says how dare and tries to strike again, but again her filthy hand is grabbed. Rosalie mentions unless she wants to get dragged away in front of guests by knights, she should just leave quietly. This causes the crown prince to smirk as he notes he never informed her of his visit, as it is the duchess's choice on whom they want to inform about it. A furious Bella then turns to walk away as someone then calls for Rosalie. Sonya asks if this is the real Rosalie that she knows, to which Rosalie just says yes. Sonya mentions she is surprised that Rosalie kicked Bella out, and that it feels like this is a completely different person. Sonya then backtracks, saying it's not like she hates the change, but she just thought someone bad may have triggered this. Rosalie says she understands what Sonya means, as Sonya then smiles, saying that seeing Rosalie like this relieves a lot of her worries. She says she is about to have tears as Rosalie notes this is what is expected of the lovely heroine. Later, we see Dolan tell Rosalie that they have selected some candidates for the position of general officer, to which Rosalie says she already has someone in mind. He asks who might that be as someone is then seen walking in. It turns out to be Neon, a close aide to Bella and the former general officer. He says he has something to say, to which Rosalie says to tell her. Neon notes to himself how dare Rosalie leave Bella like this. He also notes that a unilateral dismissal is unacceptable. The story notes that the money Bella and Neon took for themselves is impossible to recover. Neon yells, saying she has no shame as he has worked for the Duchess family for years, and says that she will have to deal with the Duchess after throwing him out. He tells her if she backs out of the dismissal this time, he will let it slide. Rosalie then wonders if she should teach this ugly mustache a lesson. She notes he is not from the army and that she should be more patient with nobles though. She does, however, decide that she needs to let him know who the real Duchess of this kingdom is. She walks over, saying she has a list of all the corrupt things he has committed and that she has nothing to say to him even if she makes an immediate action for him. We see Irene come in calling for the Duchess as Rosalie then mentions that she wanted to confirm to him that Neon will be leaving the castle. He asks if she means that man, to which Neon notes it is the Knight Commander. He then tells her to leave this guy to him as he prepares to serve a knuckle sandwich. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please hit like and subscribe for more. Comment your thoughts below. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to turn on notifications to catch the next part. Your support means everything. See you in the next one.